Welcome to Film Riot. Today we have a few things to talk about, not really answering questions, although there are some questions that I'm answering, but were just because things that people have asked me a lot, but they're not exactly questions that were submitted in the normal way, but we're going to talk about stuff that I want to talk about, so let's talk about it. First up, which is just a quick mention, because a lot of you asked me when we did the old Filmstro episodes, wanting to know, because Filmstro can be used inside of Adobe Premiere, wanting to know if it was going to be available for Final Cut anytime soon, and it is. It's out now. You can check a link to the notes below to see that. But they finally made it available inside Final Cut. So if you are a Final Cut user, there you go. Moving on to more new goodies, there's the SmallHD 703 Bolt, which has a wireless built into it. So Teradek wireless is built into the actual monitor, which is a fantastic monitor. I used it on our new production. I'm going to be using it again in March when we shoot the rest of the short film. It's super bright, super gorgeous, and just not having, because on all my projects with a crew, I always have a director's monitor, which is wireless, that I'm walking around with, because I do like to get close to the actors when it's a performance moment. And often you just have a cage on it and a battery and then the wireless receiver, and that's always coming disconnected constantly. It's just such a pain in the butt. I remember when we shot the Western, it was constantly disconnecting. It was a massive pain. So having this with the 703 Bolt with it built in on this shoot was just amazing. I never had an issue with it. I'm not being paid to say this. They are involved in that project, but this has nothing to do with that. I'm just telling you because I really loved it that much. So definitely check that out as well. If you're looking for a new director's monitor and you do often use wireless, it is pricey, of course. So this is just for those of you that do use that on a normal basis. Definitely check out the link below because I couldn't recommend it enough. Then to the one question that I wanted to address, which is something I'm asked a lot actually, is how we make our thumbnails. And honestly, when we make our thumbnails, it's often Josh that's doing it, but when I'm doing it, and I'm pretty sure when Josh does it as well, it's basically like discovery. You're just figuring it out as you go. You find something that inspires you and you start building on top of it. Me and Josh both aren't graphic designers, so it just takes a whole lot of better one, better two, till we finally find what we like and then land with. But there's one secret weapon, which I think a lot of people, it just doesn't click into their heads that they could easily just go and do this for whatever reason. And I'm assuming that based off of the questions that I've gotten and how they're asked. And that one secret weapon is stock footage. So for instance, if I come over to Adobe Stock, which has been my main place to go for stock images and video, which you guys know because I've been talking about it a lot lately, and just start searching for whatever it is that I'm doing. We actually use it a lot for Try and Store as well. So for all of those product thumbnails, we're getting those through stock images, oftentimes from Adobe Stock. So say if we have something like a new sci-fi music pack coming out, I'll just throw in sci-fi and start looking through until I find something that sparks my interest or inspires me, or I see where we could put the font, because I know where we're going to put the text, especially with our product stuff. There's specific layouts that we like to stick to for branding reasons. So I'm looking for something that's going to facilitate that. So you find something that sparks your interest, you think it might work, and then you just grab it and go from there. I can save to computer, license or save to computer, but I'm always just saving to the computer so I can try a version of it with this watermark over it to see if I definitely do want it or not before I'm spending money on it. And you can also find similar, which is really helpful often if you're looking for a specific thing, but that's not landing on what you want. You start getting a lot more stuff that would work. Like this is awesome. It has a great area here that would be perfect to put some text in. And that's pretty much how we're doing it 9 times out of 10. You can even search stuff like film set and see what you come up with. You could even do something like, if we're doing a cinematography episode, just search for cinematography and see what you come up with. You're going to come up with some really interesting pictures that would work really well to convey the thing that you're wanting to do. And then you just scroll through here until something inspires you and you start building on top of that. For me, not being a graphic designer or designer of any kind, it is really helpful to do it this way. That way you're starting from something instead of starting from nothing. I find starting from nothing extremely difficult with those sorts of things, but we often have to do it ourselves. So this is often the best way to do it, at least for us. But what's great is if we're doing it all in Photoshop, sometimes I'm doing it in After Effects to use some of those plugins I'm used to, but if we're doing it in Photoshop, you can search it all in there like I've shown you guys before, and then you get all the images again. So say we like this image, I can go ahead and download a preview and then bring that right into my comp here in Photoshop and then just start working it. Again, like I said, with that watermark over it, but you can do what you're going to do here to make sure that you actually like it before you license it. Then all you got to do is right click and then license the image and you're good to go. So it's a really great layout. That's why I really like Adobe Stock right now. It's just so perfectly integrated to the way that I already work. It just makes it all really easy. But if you haven't used stock footage or images, I would definitely start looking into that. It's a lot cheaper than you think, and it's incredibly helpful. And the last thing I wanted to talk about is the iPhone, specifically it being used by famous directors making things, which is really inspiring and exciting to me. And I think it should be to you as well, although I posted on Twitter and there was a lot of people being very cynical about it, which I really don't understand at all. So you have two things. One is the new film Unsane by Steven Soderbergh, and he shot this on an iPhone, and it definitely has a lo-fi feel to it, which feels like totally fits into the vibe of the film, which is probably why he did it. I don't think he did it to be gimmicky. Knowing him, I think he did it as an artistic choice, or maybe even to make a point to the indie community and just Hollywood as a whole, that everything doesn't need to be overblown to pull off a great story, because really everything that matters is story. And I mean, you know me, I also love gear, but I also think, at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter. What really matters is what's going to be in front of the lens, not what's housing the lens. And of course, they're using lighting and they're using sound and they have a whole crew. But the point is, the same thing that they just shot a major feature film with great actors by a great director is probably in your pocket right now. So the takeaway for me is there's no real excuses anymore. Technology has gotten to the point to where something that you could make a really solid project with is in your pocket right now. And hopefully that inspires you. I wouldn't be surprised if that was a big motivation for why he even did it, knowing what he thinks about the film industry and the indie community. So hopefully you take the same thing away from it as I do. Of course, I would rather shoot on an Alexa than an iPhone, of course. And I always use the metaphor, it's like using a screwdriver over a power drill. An Alexa is a power drill, something like an iPhone or a DSLR, that's a screwdriver. You can get the same job done with both. It's just going to be a whole lot easier and faster with a power drill, but you could still get done what you're wanting to in the way that you're wanting to do it with a screwdriver. But then all the people being cynical about, yeah, he had lighting and he had a crew and he had a budget and blah, blah, blah. I point to Zack Snyder's short film, Snow, Steam, Iron. That was shot on an iPhone as well. And if you look at the behind the scenes images of them actually shooting it, it's just straight up the iPhone. There's no lenses on it at all. There's nothing connected to it. He's using a Kessler slider just like we do. It's all available light. So he just grabbed some of his very talented friends and he went out there and made that with this iPhone, and it actually looks gorgeous. So again, it's all about skill and experience, which experience being key over all things. And that's what's great about it. If you have it in your pocket, you can start shooting right now and start building your experience right now. With every new thing that you do and you finish, you're going to learn from and get a lot better with each one. So at the end of the year, if you shot 20 different things, you're going to be a whole lot better than you were at the end of the year. So that's the takeaway from these things. And that's the takeaway I hope you get from those things, is that if you really want to do this, if you're really passionate about filmmaking, you just need to be doing it all the time. Be failing constantly, and those failures are going to very quickly start turning to successes. Domain.com has all your website needs, including .com and .net domain names and website builders to help you start creating your identity online. Domain.com is affordable, reliable, and has the tools you need to build a website so that you can start sharing your ideas with the world on a professional website. No domain name extension will help tell the story like a .com or .net domain name, and if you want to brand yourself online, Domain.com has over 300 domain name extensions to fit your needs, from .club to .space. And of course, Domain.com showing you love by giving you 15% off their normal prices when you get domain names, web hosting, and email. Just use the coupon code FilmRiot at Domain.com's checkout. And when you think domain names, think Domain.com.
Logo.
So that's it for today. And if you didn't see it from the last episode, we have a survey online right now asking you guys, what do you think about us doing a live event? We're thinking about premiering our short film Ballistic in May at a theater in Dallas. We'll show the film, maybe do a Q&A afterwards, probably have some giveaways, maybe some gear there for you guys to get hands-on with the stuff that we use to make the film, and then just hang out afterwards with you guys. But we want to know if it's something that you guys would actually want to participate in, come to, and just get your opinion on it. So if you have time, check the link in the notes below and take that survey. It'll really help us out. And for what I'm watching, that would be Peaky Blinders. I'm finishing up season 4 finally. It is just such an amazing show. One of my favorite shows of all time for sure. If you have not watched it, definitely go check it out on Netflix. The acting, writing, directing, cinematography, everything is just fantastic. And until next time, don't forget to write, shoot, edit, repeat.